All right, let's start it off. Cruise 1. These will be in more or less chronological order. A little Sublime with Rome. How about a Cruise 2? Cruise 3. Alcuin foil. That is number 1 of 10. Max's first foil. Cruise 4 AP foil. Sacramento, I think that's an AP. The Triptych from 2015. How about a Lava Sparkle Piggy? I think it was 1 of 10. Number 5 of 10. I'll see those often. Chicago Gold. I think that's an AP. I think that's the Chicago Blue foil. Maybe a Blue AP. I can't remember all the versions they did on those. I think that was a Cleveland Show foil. Detroit Silent Giants. Some old Justin Hamptons. I've actually got 2 sets of those. I think they're match numbers. Then the AP Noirs. Something you won't see often. Number 4 of 11. Match set. So those are kind of fun. The Brandon Hart Max combo. Show editions. And then foil editions. The Ian Williams, what was that, Fresno? Cal? How about a Cal AP foil? 25th anniversary Sparkle foil. How about some 311 day lenticulars? There's a gold, and there's a purple. Salt Lake City, I think these were gold show foil editions. Apparently I've got 2 of those. Some Jesse Hernandez Kansas Cities. There's a lava foil. It looks like a sparkle foil. Yes, I got 2 sparkle foils. Chicago Darren Shock. I think this is a show edition rainbow foil. This looks like an AP sparkle foil. And then you can't tell, but this is actually the wood panel, one of the first ones. This one actually is pretty freaking amazing in person. That's the way that the grains run vertical, so you have to kind of roll him the other way, like on the 24, not the 18. Here's a Monk foil from 16. I think this was Nashville. I think one of these is an iridescent. One of them's, I think, a rainbow. I can't remember which is which. I guess maybe that's rainbow. I don't know. Maybe this is iridescent. Anyway. Birmingham foil, Houston Gold Kitty Cat foil. This is an Alabama regular, but this is actually one that I found in the stack that's kind of a misprint. It doesn't have like the matte finish to it, so it's kind of more of like a flat, kind of like what the foil was. The foil, they obviously dropped out, I think, like the light blue. So this one's just kind of a weird misprint that I found in the stack and kind of kept because I thought it was unique. This was a San Diego Danny XS foil. I guess I got 2 of those. And then this looks like a Derek Hatfield. I can't remember. I think this was an AP. How about a Cruise 5? And then the Cruise 5, the Max painting that was converted. Let's go to book 2. Some Monk Chicago 17s. I think that's a show edition foil. This is like a circular foil. The Kansas City Thatched. It was an AP. Pittsburgh. Was this Nate Duvall? I think, yeah. So I've got I think it's a lava foil show edition. I think I've got a rainbow foil AP. I think this is an iridescent AP. I think this is a sparkle AP, and then there's like a bubble foil AP. Nashville Status Serigraph, or not Nashville, Portland, Maine. So just a regular, and then a foil from the show. Boston, I think that's just a standard show foil. The Glen Allen Dean Henry, I believe this is just an AP reg. Some random. There's actually a really cool belly up in there. I'm not going to pull it out, but actually I will. It's this guy here. Nope. One more. These are all just a bunch of this was a random for the Belly Up, the warm-up shows in 2022. Belly Up in Aspen. This was like one of the venue prints that they were doing that I just happened to find at the show since we were working the show. So yeah, there's that one. Hartford, I don't remember, brush steel foil or something like that. Some Boca Ratons, I think it's a show foil. I think this was like a donut foil, maybe. I don't remember all the names of them. And then, did I have two of the same? 5 of 10, 2 of 7. I don't know which one's which. Anyway, this looks like a St. Augustine AP. We've got a New Orleans lava foil, Nate Diaz. There's the Soto New Braunfels. There's a gold foil and then a regular. This looks like APs for Dallas. Kind of goes with the New Orleans. Some Jesse Hernandez from Albuquerque. I think that's a show foil. And then an AP reg, maybe? Boise. I think that must be an AP. It's 1 of 30. And then there's like I don't even know what kind of foil that is. Las Vegas, regular and foil. I think these are just both show editions. I think. New Year's, Todd Slater, Marquee Theater. Here's where we kind of cross out of the 2017s. Here's a 311 Day 18 from Flames. 311 Day 18 from Max. The Wendover, I think this was NC Winter's first print, perhaps. The 2018 Dane Henry Ghostbusters Halloween. I think that was an online print. 2019 Cruise. I think that was Max. That was Monk. Yeah. San Diego. I forget the name of the artist on this one. It's someone that hasn't done a whole lot of work. But it was kind of a cool print. This is an AP on the Allentown Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whereas this one is a show edition from St. Louis, I think a couple years later. How about a Chad Tree? How about the Landon Armstrong? The Irvine. One of these is an AP, I think, that has the glow-in-the-dark inks. But I've got a couple of those. Cruise 2023. There's a Zelda. NC Winters. That's Cruise 23. Cruise 25. Monk. The 2. And then the more recent Columbus shows for Dane Henry. It was actually a fun print. Really like that one. And then these were like a Black Friday Max Alqueen set. I've got set 1 of 3. So they were just like 4 different colorways. I think they're the G Clay prints. So that does it for those books. I guess let's close these guys. We'll move on to the big boy. One sec. Let's do that. All right. Los Delarians are not for sale. How about, I kind of got them doubled up a little bit just because of the book. Red Rocks, Sperry 2013, signed by the band. That's a Mike Martin. It was a Fall Tour 2010. This one's kind of weird. It's not numbered, no AP. I think I got it on eBay, maybe. Atlanta Uncut. And then here's one you won't see. This was the Band and Crew edition of the Max 2015 from Virginia Beach. Not numbered. I believe there were 15 of these. And there was one that got released to the wild in one of the auctions I did, like back in New Orleans 2016, I think. Red, White, and Boom 2015. I think this is a glow-in-the-dark AP. This is like the double vertical AP foil. Houston, Dallas from 2015 uncut. The Sperry Silver, I forget what they called it exactly, but it was like a silver AP. I think there's like 20 of those. DKNG. These were, I want to say somebody confirmed at one point back in the day there were 10 of these. I'm trying to think. They did them at like one of the poster like convention dealios, I think out of, was it like Austin that year? So different colorway and an uncut. We had a non-foil uncut that was just like the show colors, the kind of the orangey, bluish, whatever. So yeah, this is just an uncut of the, I guess we'll call it an AP. I don't know. It's not numbered. Yeah, but it just says AP on it. Salt Lake 2016. So there was the show edition uncut rainbow foil. Here's the gold uncut lenticular. There were 4 of those. Here's the white like honeycomb lenticular. There were 7 of those. And then here's the wood green. This thing's like pencil shaving thin. Like this one's crazy. There's 5 of those. And then there's a gold uncut AP foil. There were 10 of those. I think this was what, Max Brandon Hart, 2016 Vegas, 4th of July. So those are like some cut, I think match number sets, or I have at least one match number set. This was the AP uncut with the pink colorway added. And then this was the AP pink uncut foil. So there's that guy. 2016 Atlanta, Jeff Wood. There's a regular uncut, and then this was like the Cosmic Carbon like uncut for the show edition. Some more Danny XS. These were his APs. I think there's a, I don't know, a gold foil, a chrome foil, rainbow, I can't remember. I've also got a test print. Hampton Beach, Soto 2017. The kaleidoscope on this one's actually really cool. So there's that. What else do we have? The New York triptych from that summer. This was the AP version of 10 with the just the black and white like lined, no color. Why can I not remember? Gary? I cannot remember. Gary Houston. This was for Eugene, Oregon later in the tour. This one does have a couple little dings on the edges, but generally, I mean, something that, thankfully would frame out, and I hate that term, but Atlanta, I think this was an AP uncut sparkle foil for the Atlanta. This was like the opal something or other AP uncut. And then I think I have some regs. This is a match number set, 86 and 86. Lava foil, these are unnumbered. The 30th anniversaries. I want to say one of these is a glow in the dark. I feel like there was something they did. They made a mistake. The first ones didn't have the glow in the dark, and then they end up shipping a replacement or something. I honestly don't remember. It was a while ago. New Orleans, 2020. So we've got, I think that's show edition version, uncut foil. And then the AP version with the green colorway. I think that was another Max Brandon Hart combo. 50 dates in 50 states, which we all know, thanks to COVID, never happened. Once we got back to shows, 2021, Halloween, The Flames, Triptych, uncut for the Boulder, was it Boulder, Ogden, and Stanley shows? So that was an uncut for that. 2022, warm-up shows for 311 Day. This was the Beaver Creek uncut. This one, we notoriously had some issues. The paper it was printed on was like super, 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 super thick. And there's actually, you can kind of see it like right there. There's kind of a wrinkle. Pretty much all of these were damaged in the process of trying to roll them. And so unfortunately there aren't many of these that are out there. I mean, the APs would be, but from a show edition perspective, this might be one of the ones that's in slightly better condition than most. I think maybe even there's like a little something happening right there. Chicago album shows, Transistor Blue Album. So uncut foil on that bad boy. And then 311 Day Uncut. I think the only other thing that I don't have, I didn't have room for, are like the Reading shows. the Max 4-piece Reading, Bakersfield, Ventura that led up to 311 Day that year. It's basically the 4-piece progression, kind of like the old Roscop. I've also got the Lincoln, California, the Renee show from 2024. But yeah, I think that's the majority of what's in there. So, what do you think?